The door sealed behind me with a heavy hiss, and the sound alone made my chest tighten. I stood alone in a bare metal room, lit by a cold white light, and somewhere in the shadows near the far wall, something breathed, slow, deep, watching. I could hear claws tapping softly against the floor. My pulse jumped, but I forced my hands to stay still at my sides. I had trained for many things since joining this academy, but nothing had prepared me for standing inside a locked room with a young predator from a species known across the galaxy for tearing through steel doors. Above me, through a thick glass panel, I saw the instructor. His name was Draven Kest, a tall alien with silver eyes and a permanent look of superiority. He tapped a control panel, and his voice came through the speaker, calm and amused. "Let us see how the new species handles a simple exercise," he said. "Do not worry, Cadet Owen. It is only a pup." Only a pup. As if that made it any less dangerous. I had joined this training program 3 months ago, one of the first humans allowed into a multi-species academy, built to train soldiers, scouts, and diplomats from across dozens of worlds. Most species here saw humans as fragile, slow, easily frightened. We had no claws, no venom, no night vision, no natural weapons at all. To many of them, we were simply prey that had learned to build spaceships. Draven Kest had made his opinion of humans clear since the day I arrived. He believed we did not belong here, that our presence lowered the standard of the academy. This drill, I realized now, was not a lesson, it was a message. The creature moved again, this time stepping into the light. It was about the size of a large dog, but built like something meant to hunt in packs across dangerous, frozen mountains. Its fur was dark gray, its eyes a pale yellow, and its claws clicked against the metal floor with every step. Its species was known simply as Threll, apex predators from a distant world, feared even by other predator species. The pup crouched low, ears flat, muscles tense. It was afraid. That surprised me more than anything else. I had expected fury. Instead, I saw fear. Through the glass, I could hear murmurs. Other cadets had gathered to watch, some smirking, some already looking away, expecting the worst. I caught sight of a Vicari cadet named Iris Bennett, her 4 eyes wide with concern, and beside her, a broad-shouldered cadet named Callum Doyle, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Do not move suddenly," Draven said through the speaker, his tone amused rather than warning. "Predators respond poorly to panic." I almost laughed. He wanted me to panic. That was the entire point of this exercise. But panic was not my first instinct. Fear was there, yes, sharp and immediate. But underneath it was something else. Curiosity. I had grown up around animals back on Earth, dogs that snarled out of fear, horses that bolted from loud noises, even wild creatures during hiking trips that postured before deciding I was not worth the fight. Predators, I had learned long ago, were not simply killing machines. They were creatures reacting to their environment, to unfamiliar smells, unfamiliar sounds, and unfamiliar energy. This pup had been taken from wherever it called home, placed alone in a strange metal room, surrounded by unfamiliar scents and bright lights. It was not hunting me. It was surviving a nightmare of its own. I lowered myself slowly to the floor, sitting down with my legs crossed, making myself smaller, less like a threat, and more like something at rest. The pup froze, watching me with those pale yellow eyes. "Interesting," Draven muttered, though I do not think he meant for the microphone to catch it. I kept my breathing slow and steady, in through the nose, out through the mouth, the way I used to calm my own racing heart before difficult training runs. My heartbeat slowed, and with it, I hoped, whatever tension was rolling off my body in waves the pup could sense. The pup took a small step forward, then stopped, ears twitching. I did not reach out. I did not speak. I simply existed there, quiet and unthreatening, letting the seconds stretch into a long, patient silence. Somewhere above, I heard someone whisper, and Draven's voice cut through, sharp now, Stay alert, cadet. Do not mistake stillness for safety. I ignored him. My focus stayed on the pup, on the way its shoulders slowly began to relax, the way its ears lifted just slightly from their flattened, fearful position. Another step, then another. The pup was close enough now that I could see the fine texture of its fur, the way its nostrils flared as it took in my scent. It let out a low sound, not quite a growl, more like a question. I answered with a soft hum, low and steady, the same tone I might use to calm a nervous animal back home. I had no idea if it would understand the sound, but I hoped the tone alone might carry some meaning across the space between our very different worlds. The pup tilted its head. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch far longer than it actually did, the pup closed the last bit of distance and sat down beside me. Not in front of me, not facing me with tension in its body. Beside me, its shoulder nearly touching mine, its posture loose, its breathing slow. For a moment, the entire room above the glass went silent. I did not move. I barely breathed, afraid that any sudden motion might undo whatever fragile trust had just formed between us. The pup leaned its weight slightly against my side, and I felt the warmth of it, the steady rhythm of its breathing beginning to match my own. Somewhere above, I heard Iris whisper something to Callum, her voice full of disbelief. I could not make out the words, but I did not need to. The look on their faces, visible even through the thick glass, told me everything. Draven's confident tone from earlier was gone. When he spoke again, there was a pause before his words, as if he was searching for something to say that would still make sense of what he was watching. "The pup is simply confused," he said finally, though his voice lacked its earlier certainty. "This proves nothing." But it proved something to everyone watching. I had learned, during my limited studies of thrall biology before this program, that their species relied heavily on scent and energy to determine threat levels. A creature that showed no fear, no aggression, and steady, calm energy was often read not as prey, but as something safe, sometimes even something worth following. I had not planned for this outcome. I had simply reacted the way years of experience with animals back home had taught me to react. But the result, sitting here now with a dangerous predator resting calmly against my side, was not something Draven could easily dismiss. The silence stretched on, broken only by the soft sound of the pup's breathing and the faint hum of the room's ventilation system. Finally, Draven's voice returned, tighter now, less amused. "The exercise is complete. Prepare to open the door." I heard the click of controls being adjusted, and slowly, the heavy door along the far wall began to slide open. Light from the hallway spilled into the room. The pup lifted its head at the sound, ears perking up, muscles tensing slightly at the new stimulus. I placed a steady hand near its shoulder, not quite touching, just close enough for it to feel my presence without startling it. "It is all right," I said quietly, though I doubted the pup understood the words themselves. Perhaps it understood the tone. I stood slowly, and the pup rose with me, its body brushing against my leg as it stayed close, almost as if it had decided, in whatever way a creature like this decided such things, that I was no longer a stranger. I stepped toward the open door, and the pup followed, staying near my side rather than bolting for freedom or turning aggressive at the sudden change in its surroundings. As I walked out into the hallway, the gathered cadets parted slightly, their expressions ranging from disbelief to something closer to respect. Iris caught my eye and gave a small, genuine smile. Callum, usually unreadable, offered a short nod, the kind reserved for someone who had earned it. Draven stood near the control panel, arms crossed, his earlier smirk completely gone. When our eyes met, I saw something new there, not quite respect, but no longer the open contempt from before. Perhaps uncertainty, perhaps the beginning of reconsideration. "You got fortunate," he said, his tone stiff. "Maybe," I replied evenly. "Or maybe humans have spent a long time living alongside creatures that could easily overpower us. We learned early that fear rarely helps, and calm rarely hurts. He said nothing to that, and I did not wait for a response. I continued down the hallway, the pup padding quietly beside me, its earlier fear replaced by something like curiosity about its new surroundings. Behind me, I heard the murmurs starting again, quieter this time, thoughtful rather than mocking. Word would spread quickly through the academy, as it always did. By evening, everyone would know what happened in that sealed room, and the story would likely grow with each retelling. But the truth of it was simple enough on its own. A predator meant to test my fear had instead found something steady beside it, something that did not run, did not panic, and did not see it as merely a monster to survive. I glanced down at the pup as it walked beside me, its pale yellow eyes now calm, its earlier tension long gone. Humanity had always been underestimated among the stars, seen as slow, fragile, and easy to frighten. But we had also spent thousands of years learning to live beside creatures far more dangerous than ourselves, learning patience where others reached for aggression, learning calm where others expected fear. Draven had wanted to teach the Academy a lesson about hierarchy that day. Instead, walking beside a thrall pup that had chosen to trust me rather than fear me, I think everyone watching learned something entirely different about what it truly meant to be human.